but divinely I was supposed to be here. Because that's what, I always believe that we are not accidentally anywhere. We are always in God's plan for everything. So Father Michael was supposed to be here with you this morning, but then there was something that he could not skip. And then all of a sudden, the Lord fell on me to be here with you. Last year, before Divine Mercy Sunday, there was sort of a week of prayer. And I had been asked to make a presentation about Divine Mercy. And I came as I was. This morning, I come as I am. Yes, as I entered in, although I had some papers, but I knew I was just the way I am. And that's how I want us to look at this mercy, the divine mercy that comes to us just by gratuity. We don't deserve it. And you will realize that I will base my talk on the defects of Jesus. Have you ever heard of something like this?
No, never.
Okay. Now, before I talk of defects of Jesus, I will talk about my own self. And that's what sort of I presented last year. I think she was there. Who else was there? Okay. So, before we come to learn what divine mercy is, we have to know love. We have to know things like forgiveness. We have to know things like healing, which we cannot. If we are to talk about mercy, we are to talk about divine mercy, we cannot not forget about concepts like forgiveness, healing, and love. Because much as we may say that the mercy goes with pardon, goes with forgiveness, but when we are talking about the way we are talking about it right now, we mean that it's like a synonymous with love. And from the very beginning of human creation, God has loved us. Even the gift of giving us is being created in His in His image, breathing, life-breathing breath. And then when things went wrong, we denied Him, but He never denied us. That's why even when He said, "You are cursed. You will eat, you Adam, you have to sweat. You Eve, you have to suffer so much during childbearing. You, the snake, you have to walk crawling." But He comes back. The one of the snake, it was never changed. But when it came to human beings, He comes back to Himself and says, "They are my people, and now that they are naked, I have to clothe them." And it's on this background that I would like to go back and say, for me, mercy, before knowing these concepts of mercy, concepts of divine mercy, I have to know that I came from a home, which I never get ashamed of talking about. A home that was so simple, a home that was lacking in so many ways, but a home with love. We didn't have so much, but I realized that there was love. And for me, mercy begins from there. Before even talking of these concepts, because that time I didn't know the word mercy, I was trying to look for the word mercy in my language. And I said, what does it mean? We have two words which I know you cannot you cannot read, kusonyiwa. Then you think you can read those words? Well, this is the word Kusonyiwa, kusonyiwa, which for me I translate as forgiveness. Then this busasizi is the real word for mercy. They are similar in the way they are practiced, but because the word mercy, I didn't know it. I didn't know the concept of divine mercy until lately. So that's why I said I will start by saying I came from a home. And my mother became a widow, by the way, at age 37. But by 37, she had given birth to 10 kids.
Oh, my.
No, there were 9. Because my sister, who follows me, was born, who is the 10th, was born 3 months after the death of my father. So she was left 6 months pregnant. So by this age, I think she got married at that age, 16. So my father was born with 3 other sisters, and he was the only boy. And now that means when my father died, they were different in age, 10 years I think, because my father was 47 when he died. So my mom remained alone on a small farm. And after 3 months, with 10, no, because my 2 sisters had already died, so she remained with 7 kids, and after 3 months, there were 8 kids. Of course, some 12 years later, my other sister died. She was 25. So now we remained 7 until this morning. I don't know what happens after that. So I wanted to begin my talk on the defects of Jesus by first looking at the defects of my own mother. So, for her, despite lacking so much, despite the poverty, despite everything that I can think of, her children were her wealth. The rich, everything, all riches were in the children.
Father,
Yes.
were your parents always Christian? Were they born Christian, or were they accepted Christianity later?
My parents were Christians from the very beginning.
Okay.
Yes. My father, I don't know, but I think the time they got married, they had become Christians. But my mom was a Christian always. So, her consolation were the children. Everything was around the children. That means there was love. And for me, mercy starts there. That sometimes, because I remember when she was telling us the story, my brother who turned 50 this year, when he became so sick, the nuns who were from Ireland were able to admit her in the hospital. But you know, when you go to the hospital, unlike what I see here, you have to take food for your patient. And then my mom did not have anybody to take food for her. So the nuns were providing some little food for my brother, who was like 2 years. And sometimes it was thought that it was for both of them, but most of the time she would give the food to the child and remains a couple of days without food. until her son now would take some food there. Up to now, some places you have to ride a bicycle and take the food there. Fortunately, today things have improved in my country. Things have improved. A lot of improvement. Because those days when you go to where the hospital was, it would take you like, of course there was one bus. If it leaves you, you go the next day. And at a certain time, it was going once a month, no, once a week. So what we used to do was riding bicycles, and everything was there. Consolation was this. We didn't have much, but our mom was always there. Sometimes tough. Because one time, as I think I may have shared this with you, she said one principle in this house, there is no democracy. Because democracy, you choose. And none of you chose me to be your mother. It was God. So if there was no voting, then what you have to do is to follow what I say. And there was no getting out of the house above 8 p.m. Then if you are out by that time, for those who had become 18, they would be allowed to go where there was a wedding. If you come out, you have to look for where to sleep, not in that house. But it doesn't mean that she never loved there. So, everything was around there. And apart from the only thing that she could not do, she could not help, was to take us to school. In fact, I always say I was the blessed that at least I was able to study beyond the 7th grade. The rest of my brothers, 4th grade, 6th grade, the one who graduated highest was in the 7th grade. So, and I always say, when it came to things like going to church, she was always very strict. You have to go. So much that sometimes she would even say, yes, now you have to, if you sleep, because our mass was always at 7 a.m. But you have to walk 4 miles to get there. So that means you have to wake up sometime. And if you delay, she will come bring some cold water and pound you. Yes. Why do I bring all this? I want to say that all the effects, all mercy to me was from home because of the care, the concern, despite the lack of material things. And now, having learned what it means to be loved and to love, one of the best things that the first time I experienced love, of course love was always, but when I was vulnerable, when I was completely unable to help myself, when my loving mother could not help me, was the time I decided to go to the seminar. And then that was the last hope now. I didn't have any hope. And my mother was to tell me, okay, life has to continue, even without going to the seminar. I said, oh my gosh. Then I prayed and prayed, and that's what I shared with you last year. When I was coming from the church, somebody comes, when I pushed his bicycle, and then, that's how we are supposed to do to help the elders. When you reach on the hill, somebody has to walk pushing the bicycle, and the children are supposed to do that. And then somebody asked me, I saw you were an altar server, and now that you have not, I don't see you preparing to go to the seminar. And I expressed what was the problem. That was the tuition and mine altogether. And he said, I will pay for you. That's the day I will never forget. I share with so many people. And that's when I saw Jesus walking towards me, walking on foot. Because I saw the presence. And then I said, later we came to contemplate of mercy, of love. I now put together the story of the Good Samaritan. When Jesus gave the story of the Good Samaritan, and later he asks, who was his neighbor? And even me, if I ask, who was my neighbor? Of course, my mother was the first neighbor. The guy, may he rest in peace, who paid for my school fees and everything until the 13th grade, because he lost his job when I was in the 13th grade. That was another neighbor. That so much, his defects, we are not looking at what you can offer to him. And those are the defects of my mother. That she never looked at what we could offer to her. But she looked at one thing, that we were her children. She never minded whether we are in school or not, she was there. She was there to go hungry without food, but to save some little food she had for some of his children, of her children. The same applies to the guy who was called Edward. I was not his blood son. I was not his blood relative at all. But he looked at me and he did not consider what I can offer him. But he looked, his defect was that he loved me. His defect was not to look at how bad probably I was or what, but his defect was I was a son of God who needed help at the time. And that's how he came up and said, I'm going to help you. The same, my other brothers and sisters who are there. And the same to so many people. Up to there, is there any question? Can I go ahead? Yes. Now, having told you about that I'm going to look to that I've said about how all that happened, that from home, then glory, coming even to know the concepts of mercy, forgiveness, and love. Then we come together to see, and what about this divine mercy? Of course, I'm not teaching you how it came about. Probably some of you could know more than I do, because you read, because we are in the year of mercy, and you have read so much. This is a very good book, I love it. And everything that you know. But what about how does it fit in your life? How does it fit in the concept of your Christian life? How does it fit in the fact that you are a human being? Because we may know so much. We may know so much. But if we cannot translate that into our daily living, then we may not be working towards putting that into practice, in implementing what we know. Of course, when Pope Francis was inaugurating the Year of Mercy, he had in mind that we are supposed to experience the unconditional love of God. Unconditional love of God. And after experiencing the unconditional love of God, then we go ahead and share that love to others. And probably for me, that's the most important challenge. Because knowing is one thing, but also sharing it to other people is another challenge. That unless we have a willpower, we may not be able. The Bible is full of concepts of mercy, from creation to revelation. And these concepts of mercy is what brings what we call the defects of Jesus, the defects of God. And this is where now I want to talk about the first defect, The first defect is that Jesus has a terrible memory. Jesus has a terrible memory. Why? Because during his agony on the cross, he heard this voice of this thief crucified with him. Then said, Jesus, remember me in your kingdom. And it was sin that had made him to be crucified. And without even thinking much, he forgot that the sins of this guy was one of the reasons he's crucified. And right away he said, you will be with me in paradise. What a terrible memory, he forgot. Instead, if it was one of us could be a little bit better than what we need, we would have said, okay, I will remember you, but I think you need to be in purgatory for a couple of years. But Jesus never said that. Never said that. He said, Satan, I will not forget you. Today you will be with me in paradise. He forgets all the man's sins. And he does exactly the same thing with the sinful woman who anointed him with the perfume. Jesus does not ask her anything about her scandalous past. He simply says, your many sins are forgiven. So, that's why I say he has a terrible memory, or he acts like somebody with a poor memory. So much that when you get somewhere, and that's why I said, we were not good kids always at home. We would make our mom upset. She would tell us, and at the end of the day, you come back. By the way, we were using pots to go to the river. And the pots are made of clay. And I don't remember how many of them I broke. Because sometimes as you are running to the river to get water, you find yourself, you get some other boys playing soccer, then you forget, you are with it on your head, you want to jump with the soccer, and at the end you end up breaking it. So, but when we come home, say, you're not supposed to have done that. Sometimes we would be a little punished. But the next day, she would have forgotten that you had done something wrong. So, like Jesus, she was like somebody with a poor memory. The same applies to the prodigal son, when he tells that on the journey back. Like his father forgets everything he had done, and then the first thing as he looks at him, come back. And a ring is given, the fattest calf is slaughtered for thanking him what? For selling everything, but he comes back. So that's why my first point was to share with you, and I think Father Michael is supposed to share with you this. Jesus, am I supposed to wait? As terrible memory. But his terrible memory is based on his mercy. That's it. That's the positive part of it. Then
so it's voluntary. He volunteers to forget things.
He volunteers to forget, but because he loves too much, he forgets to hate. He forgets to think so much of what one has done. And then, secondly, Jesus doesn't know mathematics. Yes. For Jesus, he would, when he said, he indicates that this in the parable of the lost sheep, that one equals 99. and the 99 equals 1. I mean, he was so poor in that he could not, he forget that he could leave this, then he follows this. The mathematics of Jesus was so poor that he could, as a shepherd, if he had 100 sheep, he would leave them and then he goes today to look for the one that had got lost. I was reading one of the stories and somebody said that he was passing by a class of first grade, I think. I was reading that in Uganda. Then the teacher asked 1 + 1 equals, the kid said 4. Then he said, the man who was passing by was a drunkard. He said, we are now finished because everything has gone high. Beer has been raised, we can't afford. But also, even 1 + 1, which used to be 2, has now gone high. It is now becoming 4.
Who says Wall Street isn't hard?
So, for Jesus, 1 is equal to 99, and perhaps more, because one person is as important as 99. And for that, he doesn't care about the mathematics. He doesn't care of so many things. So when it is a matter of saving the lost sheep, Jesus does not become discouraged by any risk or by any effort. We contemplate his actions, which are full of mercy. That makes him not to regard anything, because each person is so precious. He loves you as if you are the only one in this world. When it comes to loving you,
And he can forget me because he will love her. She's the only person in the world.
no, when you have your love 100%, she has 100%, and everybody. But when you are a person of faith and then you experience that love, then it becomes so great that it's like you are the only one. Yes. Another defect of Jesus which I want us to look at is that he doesn't know logic. Do you know what? Can you define for me logic?
Can I explain for you?
Yes,
what
explain
logic
for me.
is? Understanding the relationships between things and people, time. It's logic.
Logic.
The way you put your mind to it.
Excuse me, sir.
Gary.
I was thinking about what he said, and I don't know how to, what the definition of the word logic is, but I know how you go about logic. There are different types of logic, deductive, inductive, and so forth. But for me, logic is when you can explain things in such a manner that they make sense, that you can repeat the experiment of what you're talking about and have the same result every time.
Yes.
We are simple humans, limited in our mind. Jesus is beyond any knowledge that we have. His ocean of mercy.
Now I want you to assume that you have never heard about Jesus, but you are talking about logic.
Understanding.
Logic is what you know about yourself and your universe.
Okay.
So why would Jesus need logic to begin with?
Of course, if you are to make a sense, you need the logic.
But he was completely filled with love and
But
forgiveness.
you're not thinking of Jesus. He doesn't want you.
I wanted you to know that you don't think about Jesus, just
What
talk
is
about
logic?
it.
Oh,
to you.
logic, oh. Well, that's illogical.
Very good, very good.
You sound like Mr. Spock.
Everything you have said is correct. But I would go so much with the right reasoning. When you say things to make sense. Because if somebody comes here and tells you unconnected things, you cannot say, because with logic, one of my teachers said, sometimes even if you say something wrong, you can make it in such a way that it flows. Then he said, like for example, when you drink, you become drunk. And when you become drunk, you sleep. And when you sleep, you commit no sin. So
it's okay to get drunk.
So
Drink more wine.
if you want to commit no sin,
You sleep.
Get drunk.
you get drunk so that you may sleep, and if you sleep, you don't become,
I find that drinking is
I mean-
sin.
Perfectly logical.
That's logical.
we are saying that Jesus has knowledge because a woman who has 10 silver pieces loses one of them, she lights a lamp to search for it. When she finds it, she calls the neighbors and says to them, "Rejoice with me because I have found the silver piece that I had lost." And then she used more couples over hundreds to make a party. Is there any logic in that? That if you lose $1, then you call over us here, you buy lunch for us, which will cost like $300. Just to rejoice because something has happened. You see? That is that. So,
Well, chasing one sheep and leaving 99 unattended, so 10 of them can get lost doesn't make sense either.
Jesus is a risky
Might make for a busy day,
Yeah, well, it's illogical.
a busy day.
No, that.
He's a risk taker.
Yes. And all this, mind you, I'm saying all this because He's so merciful that His mercy becomes stronger than other things. And that's why He becomes a risky taker. For example, a business person, when I want you to come and join my company, or if I want you to come and buy things from me, I will have to make you to use a language, sweet talk to you. That's when you see the commercials. Somebody making a car in the commercial. Drives and then he brakes and then it jumps. But I've never seen cars doing those things. But on the commercials they do. So that people may be pushed to buy. But for Jesus, when He's bringing His people, He does not lie to them anything. To His disciples who have left everything for Him, He does not guarantee food or lodging, but only a share in His own way of life, suffering. So if you are telling me to join you and you are telling me, but come knowing that you are going to suffer, then I don't come. But He tells them, join me. The Son of God has nowhere to stay. The Son of God is like, it's like a dad. So for Him, He does not want to use this language of brings people just for the sake. But He tells the truth, and the truth makes Him a risky taker. That at a certain time, people started running away from Him. Because He said, unless you eat the body of the Son of Man, you have no life in you. And what happens? Said, this man thinks that we are cannibals. And then they go away. To the scribe who wants to join Him as a follower, Jesus responds, foxes have holes, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. The gospel passage of the Beatitudes, the true self-portrait of Jesus, the risky taker for the love of the Father and love of humanity, is a paradox. So, but all this is because he is love. And because his love is so merciful. And my last defect of Jesus is he does not understand finance or economics.
Right.
Oh, sounds like one of our political leaders.
Just one?
All of them,
Yeah?
but he's only one.
So we can recall the parable of the workers in the vineyard. That if he had been here, you and me, who are saying we are his followers, probably would have been the first to demonstrate. Because those who started at the first hour, those who came at the last hour, were all given the same amount of money.
Remember that one?
Where on earth can you do that and we still have people? Unless, if you are saying, I'm giving you $1,000, then they will not complain. But I think the one who came first will complain. So, that's the sort of defect in him. So much that when he says what he says, he doesn't care of other things, but he cares for my soul, for your soul, for reconciliation. And that's why I would like to conclude by saying,
At this point, may I just inject something right here?
Oh,
You
yes.
just mentioned the fact of the people, some of whom worked all day, and some of them only worked the last hour, and they got paid the same thing. On your blackboard up there, or whiteboard as we call it, you have 5 items